Hey guys, it's Yuli, and welcome back to the Squat Plug. On this episode, we're joined by Jan Daurio, the USAPL Technical Director, in which he gives us a roadmap to nationals for all lifters out there. Basically, how to get from being a local level lifter to being a national level lifter. The how-to, the steps, the qualifying totals, and things of that nature. Any questions you may have as far as that's concerned may well be addressed in this episode. So tune in, like, subscribe, share. Welcome to the Squat Plug, episode 31. Tonight, we are joined by Jan Daurio himself, and we'll be talking a whole lot about what USAPL has in store for everybody this next year, 2025. There's been a whole lot of questions, a whole lot of confusion as to what the USAPL has in the works and whatnot, and who better to speak to and ask questions about this than Jan himself. Jan, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be back.
Pleasure having you on board.
Thanks.
So, 2025, there's been a whole lot of changes, regionals, we're looking at states, we're looking at QTs and that kind of stuff. Where is, I think maybe the best place to start is just like the overall, like a path from a local lifter to a national lifter. How would somebody go about that process?
So the process, it really depends on the state that they're in. So we'll take for New York, for example. In New York, in order to get to our state championships, which is literally the funnel to a national meet, lifters probably need to start they need to start at the local level. We actually do run in New York rookie meets, and they are a primary focus of the first or second time competitor to USA Powerlifting. And the main focus is to really give the time and care to the lifters, and they don't have to worry about having people that have been competing for 10 years breathing down their neck. They know what to do. They've got it down to a science where they need to be and what they need to do and what their next attempts are. And, these new lifters, we need to kind of handle them with a little bit more kid gloves and don't get them discouraged at their first meet where they run into a meet and it's got 70 people. So in New York, what we've done is we've instituted rookie meets, and Carly runs them out in Buffalo. I know that they've done it at least at a couple of the meets in the city, and we have what is called the Rookie Ruckus, and we run it every year. Our third year is coming up in 2025, and it's basically the focus of that meet is to really energize the newbie lifter, focus your energies on making sure that they know what to do, give them a little bit of TLC, so to speak, and it allows me, my staff, and our referees to really hone them in so that when we kind of let them, because now they're crawling, when we let them walk, they walk into their next meet or future meets, and they really have a good idea of what they need to do. We actually put staff, i.e. coaches, out in the warm-up room, and they help them actually warm up so that, how many times have you been to a meet where flight B is about to start and there's nobody there? Happens, right? So we really push with these people to listen, you got to watch the clock, got to watch the board. If they have the live stream playing in the back in the warm-up room, watch it. Even though there's a delay, you want to get your warm-ups in, time them accordingly, and then get your ass to the staging area so you're ready to go. So we really hold our hands on this meet, and if they want to come back for a second year, we allow them to come back as a novice so that they could actually get, that second year of trying, and then we kind of release them to the rest of USA Powerlifting, so to speak. And it's done great.
Are there any states that do this currently right now? They have like a rookie ruckus or like
you'd be surprised how many states do. I think here's the thing. When we did it originally 2 years ago, I had to like back down how many people we could have. We could have ran it 2 days and had 120 lifters. And I made the mistake and we took 90. That wound up to be horrible. I'm glad that we actually had about 20 people drop out. So it was making the decision to not do 2 days was good. But if you ask anybody that's ever run a rookie meet, they're always probably going to tell you that the feeling that you get bringing new blood into the sport and letting you do that, you're always going to want to do that, no matter if the attendance is horrible or not, because you want to give those people that experience to actually have that meet be about them. It's kind of like their birthday in a sense, right?
We'd love to see it.
Yeah. And last year, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say we ran a rookie meet at Gleason's last year. It was the first one, and I had one of my own lifters compete at it for their first meet, and it was It was incredible. Like you said, it was very cool to, bring them and have them, have their first experience at a USA Powerlifting event. And it was really cool because it was geared towards, the new powerlifter, the rookie
Yep.
powerlifter. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I
So
forget who it was, but somebody had said like I think the first meet, first powerlifting meet a person does dictates whether or not they're going to continue the sport any longer. So doing this is very prudent. It's a very smart decision because now you're looking at somebody who's going to be there for maybe the next 10, 15, 20 years.
and the thing about that is, as a meet director, you always get the questions from them because they don't understand the sport, or they might not even know that USA Powerlifting has a website. They just saw something at the gym and they're like, my buddy's doing it, I want to do it. What do I need to do? So
Yeah. And it's honestly surprising how many people you see showing up to meets that they don't even know that there's rules for the lifts. We've had people show up to meets that didn't know they needed a singlet. They don't know that they need deadlift socks. They don't know any of the commands. They don't know how to warm up, for example, right? So I really actually liked what you mentioned about having coaches in the warm-up room, helping them warm up, because I think all of us has probably taken on some stray in the warm-up room that was lost and had no
100%.
idea. Yeah, had no idea what they were doing, and it was their first time. So to have people back there to help them and show them the ropes, and obviously that'll set them up for success in their next meet, and giving them that good experience will probably want them to do another meet. So, yeah, all around think that's a very positive thing for the sport.
So we're continuing on the trend, right? So we have the rookie meet, then we have regular local meets that can be anything from, we have Squats and Science runs a couple meets in the city. Murder of Crows is going to come back this year, I think, maybe next year, I forget. So they kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. They lost one of the guys that was running the meets there. He actually moved, so they had a good excuse. But now we've got a meet director from Long Island that's actually going to be running meets there. So that to get somebody from the local level to the national level to getting to be a pro, I mean, that path is very meandering. But in order to get from one thing to another, our state meet, and not every state meet does this, we actually have qualifying totals. Last year we had a 75 kilo total. I didn't want people coming to our state meet and it be their first meet. Just like you said, Mark, they show up and they're like, what do you mean I need deadlift socks?
My first meet was Mass Rhode Island State Championships.
I've done one of those too.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's literally, you want to make sure that they've at least competed once. Now, I can't guarantee the level of meet that they went to was adequate enough to give them all the things they needed to succeed as a lifter, but at least they have that one experience under their belt and they're not coming to me as a newborn chickadee out of the shell. And they're like, wait a minute, I needed to renew my membership. I thought it was good forever. So we've changed our states to actually have an implemented QT, and we did it twofold. Well, yes, twofold. One, because qualifying totals for regionals went up from 75 kilos to an actual qualifying total of a percentage based on the actual national totals. And what I did is I took a percentage of that. And that way I looked at the last 5-6 years worth of state championships, and I looked at the top ranking people to see if I was to have our open 100 kilo qualified total at 400 kilos, how many people from New York could that potentially be based on 2024, 2023 numbers? And the numbers are really high. And so what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to scare away people from, holy crap, I got to get that, That's what nationals is for. We to get to that level, we want you to actually love the sport to the point where you're pushing yourself in the gym and your total is just going up and up and up and up and up. To get to the state level, we want inclusion and we want to make sure that everybody potentially could get in. Now, are some not going to be able to hit the QT? Yes. That's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, that's why we have local meets. We have those meets that everybody can go to no matter what their qualifying total is. There are other states that are kind of joining the bandwagon of what I've done. and some are just jumping on. You got to have a total no matter what it is. Some have jumped on a 75 kilo. I don't know of any, maybe one or two other states that actually have a designated QT. So maybe because they feel that if they did that, they would be scaring people away. If you make it low enough, the barrier for entry is really low. So I think you're not going to scare. You may scare 5% of the people away, and
I think you just have to. Yeah, I think you just have to take it on like a state by state basis, because there are going to be some states that are smaller and doesn't have as many members, right? So they can kind of figure out on their own what the best qualifying total is for them, but there should be some barrier to entry there. Right?
I agree.
It shouldn't be somebody's first meet, but like in the Northeast, for example, we have a ton of power lifters, right? We could kind of jack up the qualifying totals or a dots qualifier or something, right? And it definitely doesn't discourage, at least from my experience, doesn't discourage. It actually enables more competition, because people start to get excited, especially like local lifters. They start to get excited that, they get to qualify for this meet. They feel, it's a little more exclusive. They get to compete against, people who are more, I guess, on similar levels as them, right? So I think, I think overall the QTs for state regionals is a great idea. It should be, and that it should be done probably on a state by state basis.
Not every state's going to want to do it, and I don't think we need to push that as an organization yet if we ever do it.
No.
But regionals definitely needed a QT, because it's laughable to say I can go to regionals with a 75 kilo QT. That would mean that you're going to go to a local meet. You're going to get or maybe you're going to go to a state that doesn't need you to qualify at the state level to go to regionals. And you don't have to do a state meet to go to regionals. You can just go to regionals if you have a total. So if you go to some local meet and total 75 kilos, like some other federations that were allowing you to do that to go to their national meet. Where's that button? Hold on. I don't know where it is.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Yeah, that one. So to see where we were and where we're going, and now that we actually have established qualifying totals for that next level event, i.e. regionals, I think that's a huge thing. Now, I'm going to segue for a minute. We opened states last night at midnight, and I was just lazy. I didn't want to say at 5 p.m. because why, but I stayed up, and 30 people signed up in the course of about 25 minutes.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the cutoff point for states this year?
It's February 5th. We can go to 300. And if we get 300, I would, if we get 300 lifters, I'm going to shave Mateo's eyebrows.
Please don't.
It's a good wager.
I had to do it once.
I may end up eyebrowless somehow.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that's right. Now, here's the funny thing. So we've had it. It's been open now for 19 hours, right? How many people do you think we have signed up already?
70, 80 people probably.
99.
65.
99, that's great.
I really want to sign up for it. I have to get on it.
And it's the people have been talking about New York States for the last couple of months, and I didn't really catch the buzz until I literally people started DMing me, asking me questions. What time's it going to open? What's it going to cost? How do I get into prime time? Can I do another meet to increase my dot score to get into prime time? All the above is yes, and we're going to open at this time. It's going to cost this much. I don't hide anything, and I don't want to do that because I want people to come in and compete. And it's going to be, if we get 200 lifters or more, then it's going to be the biggest state meet in New York that we've ever had. I foresee it going north of 200. It's probably going to be around 250. And if we do 250, we can run 3 platforms.
I agree. Like I'd say just off of peak alone, like here in New York, I have another 6 or 7 people who'll be signing up for that meet. Justin just signed up last night. I have a whole bunch of people, Mateo, Lauren,
signing up, yeah,
and, Aaron, a whole bunch of people will be signing up for New York State. And I can't wait to see it. It's a phenomenal meet, very well run. But also going back to the other stuff we're talking about the QT and whatnot, it's important to have that when you have as many people signing up for a meet that they know what a meet's about. as opposed to asking the most basic thing. It gets unwieldy.
Yeah.
You're gonna have some people, I guess, who have a little bit of rapport with the warm up room at a meet setting, as opposed to bumping around like like you've never been here before, been there before.
Yeah.
So I can
Yep,
imagine
absolutely.
that is,
Especially
an
when there's like a
incentive.
300 people meet. It gets
Bro, imagine.
pretty hectic. Because I remember my first experience at Collegiate Nationals, from like going to a local meet to Collegiate Nationals, it was just,
Oh, those are
Yeah.
two different animals, my man.
yeah, I know.
Two
I
different
figured-
animals.
I realized it that day.
So to continue on the trend, I'll make the rest of this really quick. So you have your local level meet, and we're talking in New York here. Local level meet to get a QT to get to states. Now you need a QT to get to regionals, and once you get to regionals, you can use the state qualifying total and the regionals qualifying total. So anything state and above will get you a potential spot in the Raw Nationals, Equip Nationals, or even bench nationals. I mean, you could use those and you could compete in bench nationals as long as you've got a total, so there's no stopping you in doing that. If you wanted to hit for the cycle and go, I'm going to go raw, equipped, and bench, there's no stopping you, the only thing that's stopping you is your bank and saying, no, your card is declined, So
Unless
I think,
your name's Sophia Veras, then you're gonna
Right.
definitely do that.
Yep, I can always count on seeing her sign up for everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And we love that, because that means, we know that Soph loves the sport. I mean, there's no denying that. And those are the people that they love the sport. They'll sign up for everything. And they also give back in the sense that she's a referee. She'll help out whenever needed. I've called her to come out and help me. You've come out too, Mark, so those are the people that we want to really, wrap our arms around and say, thank you. And we appreciate you. Now that we've kind of discussed the road to Raw Nationals, I like that term. That's a term that we coined a couple years ago when we started filming the pros going there. Does that kind of hit like the sweet spot where you're looking at? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it explains it for everybody out there. But now let's also, if you don't mind, real quick, let's just also discuss the dates that these things will be taking place. Like states, typically speaking, when you want it, I think it's in March.
It's going to be this. It's going to be March is in. States is in March, the same weekend as we did it last year, which is St. Patrick's Day weekend. So get your green singlet. I'll see if I can get Brian at A7 to release a green colorway for us. The Northeast Regionals is going to be the weekend after Labor Day. So September 7th and 8th. Raw Nationals is going to be in June, right around my birthday. We start on the 26th. We go to the 29th. What other dates you want to know?
So we have states in March. We have nationals in June. We have regionals out in September. Will this be like a national across the board thing? Like, is everybody doing states in March now? Is everybody doing regionals in September now?
So USA Powerlifting kind of redistributed the calendar in a sort of a good way. It's going to take a couple years to really plant the flag and say that, all right, this is why we did this in 2024. All of our state meets countrywide need to be done between the months of November and March. So March 31st is the last weekend that you could potentially run a state meet. And actually, I take that back. I think it's April. It's April. I take that back. It's the end of April. So November to the end of April. April was added on. It actually was October to March, and they've since moved it up a little bit, 1 month. So now it's November to the end of April, which is good and bad if you really think about it, because if you have people that are trying to get a spot for Raw Nationals, or even Equip Nationals for that matter, those meets are in June and July. So we've always inherently run our meet in March. It used to be run in January. I may look at what we do for 26 and maybe we bring it back a month or two. I don't know. Listen, living in New York, in the Northeast in general, you don't know what the weather's going to be. So, I mean, I remember we had a meet, this is 5 years ago, and it was up at one of our local gyms, and it was a 2-platform meet over 2 days. We got hammered on Saturday with a nasty snowstorm. I still made it there. Half the people showed up to compete, literally half. And the meet director, I remember him, we're sitting there because we had lots of time on our hands that day. He goes, I don't know what to do. I said, well, I mean, you can't help the weather, right? So that's one of those, you can't help the weather. If you feel bad for these people, then do right by them and offer them something. If not, move on. Let's call it a day. I mean, again, you can't prevent Mother Nature, you know? I don't know what the forecast is going to be 6 months, 8 months, 10 months when I put the sanction in. It could be sunny, 40 degrees. It could be we're 2 feet under in snow and I can't even get out of my own damn house, you know?
So we have basically November to March 31st into April, in fact, for state meets to get qualified to all for nationals. We have regionals taking place sometime in September. Now let's talk about nationals.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about regionals. So regionals is happening. Regionals used to be June, July, and August. It was always like a summer thing. Being that we now have our Raw Nationals and Equip Nationals in those 2 months now, it was decided to move regionals to kind of like the fall, right? And now it's going to be in September or October, those 2 months and those 2 months only. Next year, here's an ironic plot twist. Next year, 4 out of the 5 regionals are going to be run in September. Only 1 is going to be run in October. 3 of them are going to be run on the same damn weekend. That's going to be interesting. Wow. Yep. and Northeast is one of them. Yep. So it's September 6th and 7th is Northeast, Midwest, Southwest. And the other one, Western, is going to be the weekend after that, the weekend of the 13th and 14th. And then Southeast Regionals, which we are running again. I'm running that meet, not again, but I'm running that meet as well. So Raw Powerlifting is conquering the East Coast next year. We're taking it over, baby.
Oh, there we go.
That one's going to be on October 18th to the 19th in Florence, South Carolina. So I expect to see all 3 of you there.
Yes, we'll be there. We will be there. So now looking at
we have some lifters in Georgia, so
Quentin.
Not just Quentin, I have another guy, Matthew, so
okay. All right. I think Quentin's gonna be at Nationals as well though. Or like maybe.
Well, Matthew's definitely not a Nationals guy, but he could be a Regionals guy.
He could be a Regionals guy, absolutely.
He could be a Regionals guy.
That's why that's why that event was created, for those people that love to compete. They love to compete on that quote unquote Nationals feel, but they don't have the strength to get to that next level. So we want to give them that kind of that experience. Sorry, I keep moving away from my mic. I got yelled at.
Right. You know what? Somebody gave me a great analogy the other day. We were we were having a discussion, and this is not super related, but we were having a discussion about how powerlifting is for everybody, right? And the person I was talking to made this analogy that it's like golf, right? You could be a pro, you could be a Tiger Woods, or you could just be the guy that goes to the driving range or does, you don't have to be, an elite level power lifter or have some sort of, or be at some level to participate in this sport. There's something for everybody. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was just a little off tangent there.
Yeah, man, and you meet up with a competition, I guess, that's at your level, as opposed to, I guess, like showing up to like a state championship, whatnot. You have somebody there, who may be the first meet going against somebody who's got like a 540 dots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's reflective, I guess, like where they are in the career. Like regionals would be a higher higher dots, so on and so forth. Just it makes more sense. Like, instead of showing up to like a local meet. Yeah. And you being like, like the shark fucking.
I think just statistically speaking, not everybody is going to be able to make it to nationals. Regionals might be the end of the line for them, and that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? But it just goes back to that. It's for everybody. It's obviously strive for as high as you can make it if that's what you want to do. If you want to try to make it to nationals, absolutely more power to you. I think we're all in that boat or have been in that boat. But if you're okay with I'm just gonna live and be the regionals hero. Nothing wrong with that either.
Not
you know
bad
what
thing.
I mean?
So not quite, something that ties into both regionals and nationals over here. I remember last year they did the 50 kg I'm going to see like handicap for people, I guess, who took first, second, or third at regionals, internationals. Are we still doing that this year?
That only applies to the competitors that competed in 2024. That is not going forward. And here's why. So a couple things play into that, right? Now that we've lowered the qualifying totals to get into Raw Nationals, and they're not so astronomically out of the realm of possibilities, you know, for some people. And I mean, you know, you guys hit on your last podcast. You had people that were in one of the, I think it was a 90 kilo weight class. The third place dude wouldn't be able to compete.
It's crazy,
He
right?
couldn't get. He didn't have a qualifying total. So
And it happens, you know, like we're trying to correct the system with now, trying to like
yeah, I mean, and you had bad meets, right? It happens, you know. So
terrible meets.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think doing what we did with the lowering of the QTs and making, you know, dropping that I'm going to say this a lot. So if you have something to drink it up. This is the word of the day. Barrier for entry. If you have that low barrier for entry, you have the ability to get more people to come and play, or you open the door for more people to come. Only 1,200 spots are going to be available for Raw Nationals. So that's way more than what are presently able to qualify. That's not even taking into consideration all the state meets that have yet to happen for this year and next year. So the reason why we did, and can I segue for a minute, talk about Raw Nationals and what we did with Raw Nationals and some of the things that we're adding with, like, why we're specifically targeting dates. Being that this meet is now moved from September to June, we had to really think about alignment of when we open things, how we handle the flow of registration, and who we wanted to register for this meet over who shouldn't or can't. One of the things that we've never done as an organization is, because we wanted that inclusion, is we've never said, "Oh, Mateo, you don't have a qualifying total for this meet," or you know, your qualifying total is 20 kilos under because you competed in Salt Lake City and you couldn't breathe walking across the street. So now you have to go and compete at another meet to get a higher QT to come in. What we don't want to do is we want you to have a qualifying total set before you register. So
Beautiful.
one of the
see it.
good. And I've been waning on this topic for a couple of years, and it's almost like we need it. We're only doing it for Raw because it's the one meet that's like our crown jewel, right? Kind of like the Arnold, and the Arnold can only be so big because of the footprint that we have and our time that we can be in the building. If we could be there and do weigh-ins at 6 a.m. and go till 10, 11 o'clock at night, we could have a 600 lifter events at the Arnold, no question. But we're going to settle for half of that because we're in the expo hall now, and you know, they're going to start kicking people out, which they did this year. So knowing that we have a captive audience, you have to have your qualifying total set. And we're going to open up Raw Nationals on February 1st for invites only. So they're going to get a code, and that code is going to allow them to actually get in for 7 days, and that will allow them and only them in by themselves. On February 8th, the codes are moot. We open up the floodgates to the remaining up to 900, and then once we hit 900, the meet shuts down because we still have March and April of state championships left to go, and potentially some that happen in February that haven't had the results processed yet. Because when you register, it's literally going to check the lifting database to see if you have a registered total in the divisions that you're registered for.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Good.
So
Good to see it.
we are, one of the things that we're working on right now is we're working on the weight class changes and all that to make sure that we have that, because we'll get to that conversation in a minute. With the change of the weight classes, it brought in a little bit of nuances with what women can do up and down with their QTs. So having the 900 cap, at least soft cap, so that we can allow for another 300 lifters is good, right? So on May 1st, the event will open up again to a total of 1,200. I had tried to push, and I wanted a bigger like number, because the one thing that our organization has been looking at recently is we spend a lot of money at Raw Nationals and we always lose money. Always lose money. You know, yeah, we may have brought in a couple $100,000, but we lost half of that. You know, we ate half of that ourselves, if not more. And that's the thing that people don't know. They can be like, oh, it's a money grab to do that. No, Jack, it's not. You know, the 200 and whatever thousand we made, it cost us $4 to run it. You know, the production alone, the screens and everything, was a quarter of that. It was half of what we brought in for entry.
Really? Wow.
Half.
I mean, you guys did a really good job with it, though.
Yeah.
And we, as an organization, we got, when everybody got home, everybody was kind of amped because we're like, we're looking forward to 2025. We know we're going to be back in Atlanta. You know, we know what we knew with that place because we actually held collegiate started this year, and it was awesome. We're going to be literally in the same spot. So we already knew like the things that we needed to do for next year with Raw. And we can't go 5 platforms because if you want to have a jury, it's an odd number of platforms, so you can't. And
Fair.
you know, so we looked at what we want to do with prime time. We're going to start prime time like an hour earlier, maybe even like 7 o'clock. So you know,
I'm all for it. You know, as a coach,
all the old men are like,
yeah.
Well, not even old man. Just like if I'm up until like 12 o'clock at night, and I have to like be out there handling people.
Well, the thing is like you're up, and then you always have to coach the first fucking session. Why is that? You know, it's like, oh no, yeah, I'll stay up till midnight for prime time, but I also have to be at the first session for my lifter at 7 a.m.
And even if I'm not coaching prime time, I want to see prime time. You know, like it's
same.
It's
I mean,
you know,
yeah. That's what I mean. You know.
Does anybody remember when we go ahead, Mateo?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people this year didn't get to watch primetime in person, and they just watched it at their Airbnbs because it was so late. Like I did that because I was competing like the day after, or like even the day before that. I was like, I'd rather just stay in.
For the supers, I did. I went back to. I couldn't even stay in the venue. I was like, I have to get the fuck out of here.
But if you look at it, the year before, primetime started at 8 o'clock. We were only 30 minutes later. And we're going to do a much better job of weight class distribution. And I may have women that are maybe the open ladies in the 65 kilo weight class, and maybe some of that's a junior only and a master's only. Maybe they compete on Thursday, and the open 65s compete on Friday morning. That way we can, as long as they're not dual division, we can move them because we can award them and not have to worry about them waiting for their awards for the next day. I don't want to have that situation where, you know, well, I missed my awards because I had to go home on Friday and I only lifted on Thursday, and we don't want to do that. So the more that we can have the equal division of weight classes, and honestly, doing a 65 and 70 is going to make it easier for us because that 67 kilo weight class females, holy shit, man, that's a stacked weight class.
Yes, it is. It was.
Yeah, spreading up. I don't remember how many women were in it, 80 or 90. Spreading up that was a nightmare, and making it work in flights. It's I had to brought out my abacus. I'm just flipping balls around, figuring out where I can move people, and it was not fun. But I think with the new weight class divisions, it will make things easier for me and my crew to flight the event. Collegiate was and will always be a pain in the butt, but Raw will be. I'm hoping that it's actually easier, and if we're up front with what the one thing that I don't know right now is, and I have yet to look into this, and I'll probably look into this probably in December, is how many 67s competed and what were their body weights, so that I know that how many can I put on Thursday versus how many can I put on Friday, and then do we have them lift in the morning? Do they have lift in the afternoon? You know, all of those things so that I can look at that. Even 75s that maybe didn't weigh 70 kilos because they may want to just lift in a 70 kilo weight class instead of being 75 again. So there's lots of things to kind of to play with that'll give us some make the meat more flat, you know, and spread it out.
Have you thought about maybe also, I guess, like having certain caps, at least temporary caps on each weight class?
We can't do it on weight class. I can do it based on day and session. They can actually get done in a flight too, but I have to have all those things kind of pre-described, and I would rather say, listen, on day whatever, let's say day 1, we know that we have 300 spots, right? And of those 300 spots, because if you look at 1,200 divided by 4 is what? 300. So we have 300 spots for day 1. That's as many people as we're going to take in those weight classes. The one thing that people did for this year's Raw was they found out, because we did have caps per day, if you remember, but we had people that were weighing in a weight class where they were choosing weight classes that they didn't actually have a qualifying total in, and then going back and saying they were actually having the national office change them back. And I said, no, they can change a weight class. Let them do it. And when it tells them they can't, that's on them. So all they did was circumvent the system. Having a required total prior to registering fixes that problem.
True.
So
My question is, I have a question about that. So I know, for example, for me, I have a qualifying total in the 125 kilo weight class, but I haven't hit the qualifying total for 110 yet. So let's say I want to sign up as a 125. I want to sign up as a 110. So I sign up as a 125 first, and then am I able to just change my weight class afterwards without even?
As long as you have a qualifying total eventually as a 110, you'll be able to do that.
Yep.
You can move up a weight class without doing anything, but moving down, you have to requalify.
Yeah.
How close are you to 110 right now?
Under right now, but yeah. I mean, I did nationals as a 110, but I didn't have the qualifying total for like 5 kilos. So
yeah, he had
but I have the qualifying total
last
for 125 from the World Cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he had a less than stellar meet at nationals this year.
Let's just say that. Yeah.
I would, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down, because we have all the data, so I'm going to pull down the meet results, and I want to look at what people had for qualifying totals, and I want to look at the disparity between what they wound up with versus what they had.
But I'll tell you, I totaled almost 60 kilos less.
A lot.
God damn, man.
I want to say, execution-wise, he did it right. Did okay. Didn't go 9 for 9, but didn't go 4 for 9 either. But actually, like progression from meet to meet, this is hands down his worst meet ever.
Oh
period.
Yeah, by far.
However, at least you didn't bomb out, right? I mean,
at least I got a 4th place medal out of 4. But I have a question, if you know anything about the Pro Series this year, because
what do you want to know?
Everything.
I mean, this year is going to be at TSS, right? It's going to be, what is it going to be? I don't remember when it was.
December, second weekend of December, something like that.
Yeah. So so right now, from now on, is Pro Series just going to be the finals, or what is it?
The Pro Series final should always been its own thing. And we put it in the Arnold because we had we don't pay for the venue, but, the production is stupid expensive because, again, we had the video walls and everything. So, and we don't have enough competitors to make a profit, but that's okay because we know that, that meet is, again, it's one of those meets that, on Saturday when you walk by, if you could walk by and watch the meet, you're like, what the fuck is going on here? It's a powerlifting meet. Why are there so many people stopped and watching? And it was absolutely bewildering, the amount of people that were just standing. Remember that red carpet that was out next to where we were? It was lined from one side to the other with people just standing there. And I said, oh, okay, the draw is real. And I remember when we were in the C-Pod. C-Pod was only so wide, and there would be people stopped in the walkway. We had 2 or 3 times as many people standing and watching the meet than we could have had in the C-Pod. And it's because they were in the expo. And they had to pay to get in the goddamn expo to boot. So they got a little bit of a show for their, $60, $70, whatever it cost them for the pass. But man, I think doing what we're doing next year at the Arnold with making it a pro qualifier, but also bringing back some really cool things like the Raw Challenge. We're actually doing a Masters Raw Challenge, which I thought that was a great idea because, Master lifters are still a thing. There's a lot of old people. I'm an old person, so
I can say that.
So I can say that. Yeah. So there's a lot of old people that love to compete, and they love to compete at that level. And if you get to that level, by God, do it, man. And me and Josh Rohr were talking about what kind of events do we want. I said, well, we're definitely going to do the Raw Challenge. I go, what if we take the Masters of Iron thing and rename it the Masters Raw Challenge? She's like, I like the looks of that. That sounds good. Because, I mean, all of our events at the Arnold have, like, they've got the allure, right? You've got the Raw Challenge. You've got the Grand Prix. We don't do the deadlift thing and the squats and the squat rep thing. I mean, those are great. Did they draw a lot of people? I mean, we couldn't even fill up last year with the deadlift event. And then people were like, bring back the deadlift event. No. For the 4 people that want to do it, it's not worth it. And then, the Arnold people are like, well, put you on the main stage. You're like, that's not going to entice anybody to come sign up because they don't want to do it. And that's fine. But we can replace it with something else. So we went from running, I think we ran 9 events or 10 events at the Arnold this year, which I said to myself, I don't want to do that again because, if you guys know what it takes to run even the smallest of events, pack 9 more of those in 3 days, and you want to put a gun in your mouth. You're like, nope, I don't want to do it again.
Could only imagine.
Yeah, so now what we're doing is we're literally doing 2 events a day, 2 platforms a day, and we'll be done realistically. Saturday will be our longest day simply just because of the amount of lifters we're going to flow in. But I think, for the betterment of the organization and to have that wide swath of people that can watch this thing while they're in there getting their free crap at the expo, it'll be better for us because we're not, getting out of there at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and we can still give everybody a really good show. I mean, we were told this year that all the way at the other end was like a strongman competition. The expo people came over and told us to turn our music down because we were overpowering them. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember who it was that came up to me, if it was Lou from Audio Spectrum. He goes, yeah, he wants to turn our mics and sound down. I'm like, I really don't want to do that, but we probably need to because we definitely want to come back next year. Yeah. So we obliged and turned it down. And when they stopped doing, because we knew when they were doing events and when they weren't. When they weren't, let's turn Gino's mic back up so everybody can hear him. Yeah. Yep. So that was we wanted to be the loudest thing in the room, and we were.
So to segue into this, because I think this is maybe one of the more important things now. We're looking at the Arnold being an international level meet. The next thing, I guess, that we can kind of like.
No.
Really? No.
No.
Wait, what?
So USAPL, what was the acronym again?
IDFPA. IDFPA.
So the IDFPA, would people, I guess, like who have certain dots, I guess, like not qualify for the Arnold if they're not in the US?
No. So I guess it's a international event based on who can get in, mm-hmm. but it's not coined an IDFPA sanctioned event. Unless I'm not being told information, which that's usually not the case. So we're letting anybody compete at the Arnold who has the dots to get in. So if you want to come from Korea, Hong Kong, Australia, England, France, whatever, we don't care. If you're from the Bahamas or Mexico or St. Lucia or Aruba, again, we don't care. But you'll have to compete in a USA Powerlifting event, and you'll have to have had you'll have to have the required dots to actually compete. We are not fact-checking that at registration because it's such a small meet that I don't think we really need to. And it's one of those things where it fills up so fast anyways that I don't think there's really a need to do that. And if we did that, I think it would slow the registration process down tremendously.
Okay.
Now,
so what I was trying to segue into over here is the next thing, I guess, because we're dealing with right now, I guess, a weird part in powerlifting. Weird point in powerlifting. We're now basically, we have which I was going to say 2 equally competitive federations with the USAPL and Powerlifting America, but frankly, I think the USAPL is the better of the 2 federations as far as, I guess, how it runs things. the membership, and all that kind of stuff. However, though, just like the international pull and sway that IPF has through Powerlifting America and whatnot has been shunting a whole lot of the top end talent over to Powerlifting America, despite the fact that many of these people are never going to make it to Worlds, and they really don't have a chance to do so. But now, what's the USAPL currently doing as far as, I guess, like growing its international presence?
So right now, the events that are going to be coined IDFPA sanctioned events are going to be the cup events. So bench, open, and student World Cups are going to be they're going to be dual sanctioned. They're going to be under USA Powerlifting umbrella, but the IDFPA is going to be the main sanction for the actual event. What does that mean going forward? There has been a lot of discussion on it because, frankly, there's lots of things that we need to put in place before we can actually really set up a bigger umbrella to put everybody under. And I think, we got our foot in the door and it's been slowly moving, but I think what we're trying to not do is like the sins of our fathers in the past, where we put something out there, we throw it on the wall to see if it sticks, and it winds up just running down the wall so fast, and next thing you know, it's gone. So I don't think we want to be a little bit more deliberate in what we do with the releasing of information for the IDFPA. And we still have things. I mean, it is set up as an actual thing. It's actually its own company, so to speak. It's got its own executive committee right now. There's only 3 members of that, I believe. But there's a lot of, what do we want to do with it, and how do we want to handle putting events under the umbrella? Our affiliate countries are still going to be USA Powerlifting sanctioned events until we really decide what we want to do with that. Potentially there could be something where, and again, I'm spitballing, where we are running events. Let's say Jan wants to run a Pan American Ironman on the Bahamas and Nassau, because we book with Carnival Cruise Lines and we leave out of New Jersey and we get on the boat, we go to the Bahamas, we get off the boat, we go run a powerlifting meet, and that powerlifting meet, because it's not in the U.S., we would sanction that potentially as a IDFPA event, simply because it's a technically international thing. That's, again, I'm spitballing here because there's information that we don't know yet. And I throw that out there because my goal is to run a meet with a cruise involved somehow, somewhere.
Well, I bring this up because I think the only thing right now which frankly draws people to the IPF isn't really IPF Worlds.
No, because 99% of the people don't go.
Yes, but I do think it is maybe, I guess, certain events. In fact, not maybe, but I think it is. Pretty sure it is. The event, the one singular event, I guess, like in powerlifting does right now, which is Sheffield. The Sheffield is the draw for many of these people. Those massive payouts, the production, all that kind of stuff. I think it's as polished an event in powerlifting as there ever was, or as there is. I think the answer for the USAPL is to produce its. I see an answer the best thing for the USAPL right now to do to entice people over in the international capacity would to have an answer for that. A Sheffield of their own or something like that.
I agree.
Something of that nature.
I agree, and I think that before we do that, the IPF is not running that meet. That is coming solely out of SBD. Now, if we had a corporate sponsor that would bankroll an event like that, and that became our Pro Series finals every year, it'd be great. Hey, Nike, do you want to be our, we already have kind of a corporate sponsor, but, do you want to be a corporate sponsor for the Pro Series where, we're going to pay out $150K every year to these athletes, or maybe more, and that's their one big bang where we hold this thing in Hawaii or wherever the hell we want to hold it, and it's that one shot of the year, and that would be the IDFPA sanctioned event. Now, the one thing that is separate from the IDFPA versus the IPF is the actual IDFPA is based on the principles of actual drug testing, where the IPF is, let's face it, not really, right? They have analytics.
Drug testing. quote
Right.
unquote.
Well, no, their model is, well, we have analytics that tell us who to test. Okay, a computer's not going to do a good job of telling you who to test. And basically, everybody that is going to Sheffield needs to be tested before they get there and after they're there. You know, anybody that finishes in top of your weight class in any division, you know, teen and above, needs to be drug tested. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we make, you know, we do we do targeted drug testing in USA Powerlifting? 1,000% we do. You know, am I going to say that, you know, I'm not picking people based on solely because of their, you know, their total? Most times, yes. Sometimes it's, this guy had a really crappy day. He just looks, there's not something right. He looks like a very ripe tomato. And I think there's a potential here for something. It may be nothing, and I may be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. I've been right lots of times. And you know, it's a game of numbers, right? And can we say that every platform is clean? No, you can't say that. There's no way to even say that with uncertainty, unless you literally test 100% of the people that are coming to compete. And feasibly and financially, there's just no way to do that. You know, I think we would be fast approaching the deficit after 10 years of testing everybody if we decided to go down that road, and we're not gonna.
Which is why I think like cheap drug testing and more like, you know, like a consistent drug testing is important. You know, so the IPFs, like analytics and all that kind of stuff. You could talk about it, like, you know, the cows come home. Wasn't Kelly Branton out in Canada? Well, he was like 10th place or something like that at like Canadian Nationals or something like that, and they decided to test him. Lo and behold, he tested positive practically everything under the sun. Like he came up like Trembolone, like the Anabol, I don't know how many other things. You know, I could be wrong about the actual like substances, but the list was like, I want to say it was like pretty damn long.
It was very long. Yep, absolutely.
So the analytics, like, you know, would have said, no, he's in 10th place. We don't test that guy. And lo and behold, they tested the guy, and he popped positive with all that stuff in him. You know, Jamal Browner back in whatchamacallit, in I think 2016, 2017, also popped positive for all these things, like Dianabol and a whole bunch of other substances. You know, and looking at his meet to meet performance, whatnot, the analytics wouldn't have like, you know, said wouldn't have like said that he should have been tested, and lo and behold, he got tested. You know,
it's a feel thing, you know, and you don't know, some of those people that have popped may have been alluded to, that somebody said, hey, something's not right here. You know, we need to look into this a little bit more. And we rely on, as an organization, I hate to use the coin the phrase whistleblower, but I mean, yeah, that's what you are. And if you know where something is not cool, knowingly, tell somebody, and we'll deal with it, you know, because what we don't want is cheaters rolling around our Fed.
I agree. I can't think of a cornier thing than a person to be a fake natty in powerlifting, considering the fact that you have untested federations. You can be part of it. Do whatever you want under the sun. No scrutiny. But so when people do this, it's a huge fault in their character. You know, because you can compete untested. You're choosing to not do so because you know you have an unfair advantage against the people who are drug tested. You know, so I have no pity. I have no empathy for people who, like, you know, who fake natties, whatnot. I think whatever we can do to weed them out, by all means. You know, and I think people basically who shield them because, like, you know, for whatever reason, whatnot, I think they're enablers, and I think, frankly, these people need to do better, frankly.
Yep, I agree 100%, man, 100%.
But so we're going to the international presence right now. I know Australia's a part of it. We have a presence in Netherlands. You know, South Korea. I want to say one of the more important, I guess, like, international presences that we have out there. What's happening on some of the other countries? Germany, the UK. Any movement in that direction?
So right now, France is going to come on next year and have meets. Actually, I think they have a sanction for 2025 already.
Nice.
Do you know that Israel is actually out there and they run a competition and they have a couple more scheduled for the rest of the year?
I had no idea about Israel. I guess, like, being part of it. That's actually good to hear. It gives us a Mid-East presence. You know. Hopefully, I guess we grow over there and we end up with a bit of a, what you call it, you know, some good competition coming out of there.
I hope so. On our our main website, if you go to usapowerlifting.com/international, you could actually see all of the affiliate that we have set up. I think there's a dozen, maybe 14 now. So Guam is coming up. They've
yes.
Yep.
Elvin.
Yeah, we coached one of the people who's actually been the driving force for it.
Really cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Elvin.
All right.
Guy.
There you
Shout out
go.
Elvin.
The Philippines is another one that's about ready to pop off. Mexico has been, they're there. They actually are an affiliate. They just haven't really laid the groundwork to form a place to run meets. I know that they have the people to do it. They just don't. I don't know if there's a referee issue. I don't really know. I don't really involve myself with the politics of all that goes on. Because, I mean, frankly, our international committee chair and the lady that is running our doping control, they have a huge challenge when they bring these people on board because, A, they don't know us. Well, I take that back. They know us, but they don't really know us, you know? So to come in and say, we want to be with USA Powerlifting. What does that mean, you know? Well, it means you need to be an affiliate chair of some kind, which means that you're the boss, but you're not the president. You need to find yourself a pool of people that are willing to referee for you. If they were referees in other federations and we can vouch for their credibilities and what they've done, we will do that, and we will grandfather them in as officials and referees within USA Powerlifting. Same thing with coaching certification. So if you have somebody that was some type of powerlifting coach in another federation, they did their testing and courses, we will honor those things. Our technical committee is in charge of all of that. And then you really just need to find a date and a venue and sign up and roll the dice that you get people to actually come out and compete, That's the hardest thing, right? So it's like starting up a business for the first time and you don't know what the hell to do with it, and you're so gung-ho. I mean, we tried to run a meet in Canada twice, and I think the Canadians are scared of us. Like, they're so loyal to the CPU that they don't know what to do. And I'm to the point where I'll literally run a meet in Ontario right across over, somewhere on the other side of Niagara Falls, and even if it's 5 people, just to say we did it. I want to see who's going to show up and say we can't. I don't, maybe nobody will come and stop us, but it's in order to build, we need to do things that are uncomfortable sometimes. And I think we haven't been able to find good people to do it, at least in that part of the world.
It can be tough. I mean, getting referees and that kind of stuff is, I want to say, the biggest issue that federations have.
Yeah.
Case in point, looking at Powerlifting America, their infrastructure is the biggest thing that's lacking right now. I mean, they're blowing up the social media campaigns and that kind of stuff and making it look as fancy as possible, and they're doing a pretty decent job of it and whatnot. When it comes out to actually getting referees to show up to events and that kind of stuff, or having meet directors, or having what you call spotters and loaders for meets, or being able to pay those spotters and loaders, that seems to be a bit of an issue, So you can have the fanciest campaign, but actually having the grassroots, the brass tacks presence there and whatnot, that's the hard part. Which again, in my mind, makes me wonder, who would decide to cause this gulf in the sport except for somebody who has no idea what they're doing? Yeah, I'm referencing somebody in Luxembourg.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It boggles the mind. There's no point to it. No point. Like local drug testing, whatever the case happens to be and whatnot, you may have differences with it. Leave people alone. You're just doing more. You're not doing less.
Or maybe he's got his hand in the pocket of WADA, and maybe there's some kickbacks that are coming there. It's like, hey, you charge me X amount of dollars to do this, and 100 euros is going to flow back to you. I don't know these things. This is could be complete bullshit, but there's got to be a reason why they are and why they're not. No,
of course, there has to be something taking place there. I mean, I've seen, things that are taking place. I think it was in 2012 when that certain individual found himself becoming the president of the IPF, and that gulf growing day by day from his involvement there. I also go to powerlifting, open powerlifting, and I don't see any reports on his end. Not a single total to be reported. I don't think he's ever involved himself in the sport. many would beg the question, why is he even in the sport?
Great question.
You know?
But unfortunately, he's got himself painted in that corner where people are afraid of him for whatever reason, and why, I don't know. You know, does he have shit on people that could potentially damage their career?
Well, I mean, in South Africa, we had a person who was in charge of South Africa powerlifting for IPF and whatnot. His son popped positive twice. So it could be something of that nature and whatnot. You know, there's a whole lot of weird stuff taking place. I know with Trinidad and Tobago, you had their equivalent of the USAPL, their EC was voted out of the board, out of position, and they said, no, we're staying here. And the other people who were democratically voted into position said, okay, we're starting our own official federation. Fuck you, we'll do our own thing. And they started doing their own thing and told the IPF, by the way, we are the actual official organization. And then Rondell went over to compete with them and found himself being banned through the auspices of the former federation, which was it's a fucking dictatorship, And the IPF is okay with it. They let it rock. So I mean, there are quite a few significant issues here, which I think people aren't paying attention to enough. I think every federation has its own faults with them, but this is pretty fundamental.
I think a lot of people in the sport don't really get into the minutia of the day-to-day of it unless they really want to involve themselves. I mean, I could go to the gym. I'll go to the gym tomorrow, right? And I'll ask somebody, who's the president of the IPF? I'd be surprised if 5 people can tell me.
Precisely.
And to them, you're like, well, why would it matter that we're not under them anymore? But it should matter because you need to know why, who this person is, and the damage that they continually keep doing to the sport in general, and his merry band of idiots.
I agree. I mean, we've seen some things take place, I guess, to people who were aware of at some of these international meets. I'm not going to discuss particulars of the case happens to be, but it's very off-putting to say the very least. So as somebody who comes from a third world country, which has a bit of a corrupt background, that kind of stuff, seeing the things that take place over there smacks 100% of the shit that, people have left my country for, and you see this, this is small, small-minded, just bullshit taking place over there. And there's a shit ton of corruption there, and power plays and all that kind of crazy stuff. It's it's nasty. It's nasty. And I guess that explains how certain individuals find themselves in power within an organization, I mean, USAPL has had issues over the past and whatnot. It's had quite a few confrontations of that kind of stuff, but things have been taken care of, I feel, to a very large extent, where people there's that discourse, there's a dialogue. Meantime, if I talk about the IPF, I get blocked by Gaston Parage. Which is
that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing?
It's not, but it shows you how petty it is. Instead of working on getting better and whatnot, they harbor ill will towards people. What do I how do I know Gaston Parage? What kind of interactions have we had before? None. Literally just comes out to him
he's never wished you a happy birthday. God damn.
He hasn't.
Never made a post about you.
He has.
But this goes to show, they're not about having dialogues. They're not about fixing. They're not fixing the federation. They're not about getting better. They're about growing their own egos and maintaining the status quo. I don't see the USAPL doing that. USAPL has its own faults and so on and so forth. But if you have issues with them, with the USAPL, there's a discourse taking place. The conversations are had. People aren't, blacklisted for having brought this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the most part. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes and whatnot, but I haven't gotten that gist. Meantime, with the IPF, I see it happening left, right, and center.
Yeah, and USAPL is actively trying to do better. They're listening to their lifters. They want to give the lifters what they want. They want to do better as an organization. They want to do better for the sport. They want to see the sport grow. And I typically don't see the same things from the IPFs.
Yeah, that's generally what it comes down to. I mean, ultimately for me, it's let the best federation win. I think it's pretty obvious which the best federation happens to be. It's different that some people have international ambitions, whatever. They end up with their little participation, a trophy that says world champion. That's fine. It's fantastic. You can go ahead and compete that organization.
Way to downplay a world's win.
But I think ultimately
they get their little participation world champion trophy.
Yeah, but I
But
think
little thing called Sheffield.
this little meat, But I think ultimately what matters most and whatnot is a person's actual performance, right? It's your dots, it's your total, it's what you do and whatnot. Are you the most dominant force out there? Things that kind of shifted recently, where now all of a sudden we find more people, I guess, an influx of the top numbers moving over, migrating over the IPF and whatnot. But now they're out there, and they're met with an infrastructure which is very lacking, to say the very least, in their local counterparts, and they're not people who are going to be at Worlds. So what do they just do?
Good question.
I don't know. it seems very short-sighted and very selfish in many respects over here. I'm all for people like showing up to world competitions and whatnot, but out there, you know, you're not even being drug tested. You know if the person who just got a world record or whatnot is NAD or not. You know what I mean? And you look at the numbers, like, I mean, like I'm not going to name names with it, but you have people with the EC, USAPL EC posting those numbers. So amount of tests which USAPL has done, the amount of tests WRPF has done, PLU now, and like, you know, like USPA versus like Powerlifting America and IPF, and it's orders of magnitude in difference. It's not just like, you know, like half, but it's orders of magnitude. When you see double-digit tests for Powerlifting America versus thousands of tests for the other counterparts and whatnot, there's an issue there, you know. So I don't know. I mean, again,
I would say that we probably tested more people at collegiate or raw nationals than the other federations have tested in total for the year. Probably all of them.
I agree. 100%. You know, just, I don't know. We're in a very weird place right now, I guess, as a sport. You hate to see it because, you know, it becomes tough. Like you're like moving through minefields. You have Article 14 over here. You have whatchamacallit, you know, blocks by Gaston Barrage on the other side over here. You know, it's
see, that wouldn't upset me though. That would not upset me.
I know.
Yeah, no, it doesn't upset me either. But it's just, you know, like that's the extent.
Oh, I can't tell.
You're right. Oh,
the president of this organization decided day upon himself to block me. Like, who am I, bro? You know. I'm going to show him. I'm hitting him with the block. Man.
Next topic.
Yes. So
you tell me.
Let me think.
Let me say this. Here's what I'm going to do for you. So one of the things that we've been working on as an organization is kind of getting our social media together and making it more informational. And if you've been paying attention on social media, we have been posting a little bit less because we're kind of in the process of putting informational things out there as opposed to just resharing Mark's total at his last meet. You know, those are great. We like doing that, but people like information too. So we're about 3 weeks away from where we're finishing, maybe 2. I may continue it, but it depends on how much I really want to keep pushing what we're doing. But having those little pieces of information, I mean, when we put the information out about Raw Nationals, holy, that post right there was the biggest post of the year with engagement, shares. It was crazy. It blew my mind. And it was simply because, yes, we listened. We made some good decisions as an executive team to really listen to the lifter and do good by their suggestions. Some of them are great. Some of them are horrible. Let's face facts, right? But we can't change everything. But if we can make small tweaks every time we do it, you know what? What's the adage, right? Learn from your mistakes.
Yes. And
we've been doing the same roadshow for, you know, I've been with the organization since 2018 in a working capacity. I've been in powerlifting more than that, but now we're still here and we're fighting a good fight. And I think that if people listen to the right people and they get the right message out there, yeah, our membership's probably going to drop a little bit this year, and simply because last year was just some crazy fluke year. We had a banner year. We had 34,000 members plus. We probably won't hit that this year, and that's because we haven't brought up a lot of new affiliates yet, and our affiliates they haven't really grown with the expediency that we thought that they would. And you know, we can only forecast, you know, out a couple years. We can say 5 years, you know, we want England to be at 400 members. Who's going to know? They could be at 1,000. They could be at 20. We don't know, you know. Thinking about what happens on Tuesday could determine what's going to happen in this country, right? True. And we will not go down that road, but it's one of those things where you don't know what's going to happen the next day. So as long as we kind of stay the course and we just keep putting information out there, we make the right decisions for our membership, I think, you know, people will always come back. Will those people that went to go lift in Powerlifting America or go to Sheffield come back to USA Powerlifting one day? If we're still around,
maybe.
I'd probably say yeah. Because, I mean, we made a decision that we're not gonna cut costs on Raw Nationals. We're probably not gonna cut costs on the Arnold or Collegiate, simply because those are huge meets, and then that gets us the most exposure in this sport, bar none. I don't know what's going to happen at the Pro Series finals in December. I'm not going to be there, so I have nothing to do with it. It was decided to be run by an outside party. I think next year we're going to take it back internally, and will we potentially run it at a venue and put some money at it where we actually maybe bring in an AV company to help us with what it looks like and all that. It's a small meet. You're talking about 100 people, and it doesn't need to be a Metallica concert, but maybe it can be like Megadeth, some a little bit smaller,
Well,
And
I think ultimately what matters most with USAPL and what differentiates it is the fact that it is a democratic institution, and it's one that actually listens to the feedback of its members. To whatever capacity, there's going to be pushback, of course, because every federation basically has its own its own vision, so on and so forth. They realize things aren't working out that way. We saw it happen to Pro Series. Things sometimes they just don't take. You find little missteps here and there, and whatnot, which should end up being a lot more what you call it disastrous than people would have anticipated. And it happens with everything, right? But the fact that you're willing to listen to what people have to say and to respond and to work on this and whatnot, it speaks volumes about the USAPL. This is how the sport itself should be driven, as opposed to people having these blinders to no, this is how it has to be over here, and if you do this, there will be consequences. I mean, that's not how anything should be done. It's a very regressive way to do things.
and change is good too, So whenever you bring in a change, and this is why we don't want to do a bunch of changes at one time. I would rather trickle out things and see how they go, because we may need to tweak on some stuff, and who here was at 2019 Raw Nationals?
None of us.
None of us, I guess.
No.
Good Lord. Okay.
Lord.
Yeah. I spent way too much.
I knew somebody who was supposed to go there, who was kind of working at a coaching capacity, that he found himself being shadow banned.
Oh. So, yeah. So that meet sticks in my mind vividly, because it was like the first 5 platform meet we ran and the last 5 platform meet we ran. Simply because that event, we actually started a Pro Series while the other events were finishing up. I don't know if you remember that. And that may be what we do next year to kind of bring in the pros, the Pro Series, the primetime athletes will start while maybe the other athletes are kind of finishing. Maybe they'll almost be done, but you're going to have platforms that will be done. You may have 1 or 2 platforms that are finishing up on deads. I don't know how we're going to logistically do it. We're still kind of working out the timeline. I think it really comes down to how many people we actually do get for this. Do we fill it? Do we go right to 1,200? The beautiful thing too is that if we know that it's going to be a 1,200 person cap, and we know that we're requiring qualifying totals, we know our pool of people that are going to try to register without a QT, they're going to be sadly mistaken, because they're not going to be able to do it. And we're only going to get people that truly belong at that level of event. And the ones that, what I don't want to do is I don't want to have 12 people sign up. And how many people do you think we had? You probably know this number at Raw Nationals this year.
It was 9 something, if I remember correctly.
It was 864.
864. Oh, so yeah,
It was.
yeah.
It was less than last year. It was 20 less than last year. We had almost 350 or 360 withdrawals because they didn't have a QT. They had a QT, but it wasn't big enough. There's a couple of other reasons why they couldn't get into it. Oh, they changed their weight class, or they registered for the wrong weight class. There was like 5 or 6 of those that they signed up as a 125, had a 125 kilo total, change your weight class to a 110. We would email them. We emailed them 4 times. None of them changed their weight class back. See you later. At that deadline, you're done. And they knew they did not show up. They did not complain, so they knew that they were kind of playing with a loaded gun. Me personally, I would have weighed in. I would have competed as a 125 and said screw it, because you needed a meet to qualify as a 110. Why would you do that? Why? It makes no sense to me. It probably tells me already, they had it in their head that they weren't going anyway, so let's screw it, But I think that Raw next year will have more people in attendance. I would love to see over 1,000 people in attendance. I want full flights. I don't want flights of 6 or 8 people. I want flights of 12 or more, and because that means that we can have equally balanced platforms, and platform 1 isn't done 30 minutes before platform 3. You've seen it happen, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I've
for
seen it
sure.
happen a lot. Like as a coach, it kind of worked out for me. Especially when I found myself lifting alongside one of my lifters with Rob.
There you go. And one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to change somebody's platform on meet day, because that could really just screw with them, And I think maybe looking forward that we do that, and we actually make that change. And as long as we make the change, well before the session actually gets started lifting, then I think that equaling out the platforms might be something to do. That's my 2 cents on Raw Nationals.
Well, I'm excited to see it come around and whatnot. Atlanta is a vibe.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Atlanta is a vibe. And I can't wait to see what happens. Just like where it's even situated and whatnot makes it that much easier to have that much more of a turnout.
Hell yeah.
Wise, like actually like lifters and all that kind of stuff. There's a huge lifting scene out of Atlanta, and there's a lot to do.
Oh, I'm
Salt Lake
excited.
City-
I'm excited for Atlanta this year.
As am I. Salt Lake City is it's a very pretty city. There isn't much to do in Salt Lake City. It was like a ghost town. We were out there the entire time just wandering around. It would be like me, like fucking 15 minutes one direction, barely seeing 1 or 2 people. That's not gonna
9
happen in
o'clock.
Atlanta.
9 o'clock, they roll up the streets down there.
Shuts down.
Yep.
So that will not be the experience in Atlanta. I expect a very electric atmosphere in Atlanta, and I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to be out there.
And how convenient to get off your plane, get your bags, get on the tram, and literally you're at the venue.
Beautiful.
Can't be
Great, right? I literally leave the venue, walk underneath the tracks, go to the hotel because we stay right next door, and I'm like 5 minutes away. As opposed to some places, you're close to the venue or you're in the venue, but it's. I think that's the way that this is set up for next year. I don't know what 26 looks like. I know that they're looking at venues. I don't know. We're not. We have a couple things going on with that, but I think the only thing that we have locked in for 26 currently right now is collegiate, which will be in Louisiana. We're going to be in Lake Pontchartrain.
That's gonna be a vibe.
Yeah. I'm going down early because I love New Orleans. I want to go down to New Orleans and hang out
Yeah,
for
me
a couple
too.
days.
Me too.
So,
great food, great atmosphere,
oh, absolutely.
a very rich culture.
And it's in April, so it won't be, hot as ass down there.
It'll be perfect.
Less
Yeah.
swampiness, basically.
Yeah.
Yes. My wife and I went there. I think we went there in like May or June a couple years ago. We took a cruise out of the port. Whew, oh my God. I'm walking around and just in downtown over near Bourbon Street and whatnot. Well, I'm dying. I'm not a small dude. And she's like, what's the problem? Like, it's 100 degrees out and 90% humidity. This is not good for me.
Yeah, no,
I need an oxygen tank with me.
It is hot and humid out there. I went out there, I think in 2013, 2014 in August. Boy, was that a mistake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. Hotter than the devil's asshole. I swear to God, it was fucking
Woo.
insane. But I'm excited to see what happens. This has been a great episode over here. I'm hoping the audience got found it to be informative and educational, and they gave them a better idea as to what's going on with the USAPL where they're currently at right now. Jan, you were incredibly informative. Very
Yeah, I hope the audience is just as captivated as Mateo is.
I don't think he blinked the whole episode. He's like,
I was like,
his eyes are wide open.
He tapes them open and actually goes to sleep.
Hey, however it works for him. My Lord.
All right, so Jan, thank you for joining us. Pleasure having you on board as always. Where can the audience find you, contact you on online?
So they can reach me on Instagram. It's just my name, Jan Daurio. You can also find me through Bent Bar Powerlifting, Bent Bar PL, on Instagram, all the socials and all that good stuff. I actually do work for USA Powerlifting full time. I am their technical director, so I would rather you not email me there because let's keep things civil and not business related. So if you have any questions, obviously reach out to me and I'll fill you in as much information as I'm allowed to share. The one thing that I do want to say, and I want to make sure that if you listen to this podcast, you've only found it because you're in the sport, right? And I'm sure anybody that's involved in AAU basketball is not stumbling across the squat plug by any means necessary.
Be surprised.
So no, you're probably right. The one thing that I have a couple things to cover. I want to make sure that anybody that is in the sport, if you feel like you want to give back in any way, talk to your state chair, talk to your meet director, ask how you can give back. Spotting and loading, referees, we're not in dire need, but, it's always good to have more than less. And I think, I'm a national level referee. I love sitting in a chair. My goal next year is to run less events because we're running bigger events. And I'm going to focus more on using my referee side and giving back to the sport in that way. So I'm going to be at the Student World Cup. I'm going to be at a couple of other events that are yet to be named, but I want to sit in a chair and actually give back to the point of I feel like as a meet director you wear many hats, but you don't get to sit in a chair for 8 hours at a rip and judge lists, and I really want to do that because I miss it. And knowing that I'm taking on regionals in both regions of Northeast and Southeast, I want to pull myself out of running some smaller meets and really just focus on the giving back. The other two things, one other thing. One of my guys said today, because they were asking me when I was coming on here, because I told them we had to reschedule. They said, you need to get me, Eric Cordero, and John D'Alessio on this thing and have a round table.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That would be amazing.
Okay,
I think we should absolutely
Eric
set that
and
up.
John would be. Oh my god, I can imagine. Just like all kinds of shots would be fired. It's gonna be great. Oh my god.
I'll put the three of us together in a combo and I'll see if I can make that happen. No guarantees.
I would love to see that.
But
it'd be a great thing to be a part of. Oh my, the shit talking. Oh.
Yep. But hey, listen, guys, love you guys. Thank you for having me on. I hope that people are going to find this pod informative, and if you didn't, then you probably fell asleep halfway through it. But if you have any questions that I may not have covered, glanced over, or totally forgot to talk about, find me on the internet. Just look up my name. Trust me, you can't miss me.
So once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. You can reach out to Jan on Instagram at Jan Daurio. Hit him up with questions, that kind of stuff. Thank you all for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.